Hey, what's up, everybody? Andrew from Fantasy Aid here to give you the first podcast of the season, and I'm joined by Tom from FantasySportsAddicts.com. Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Andrew? How's it going?
Pretty good. So you can see by the title that we're talking about April and what a month that was.
What a month! Well, I was gonna say, are you okay? I'm not okay. I feel very endangered. I feel like an endangered species. All of my teams are endangered from the injuries, and no player is safe. You know, it's wild out there. It's really getting wild.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming we're gonna talk about a little bit of that.
Oh yeah. I mean, if anyone was not touched, but
I wanted to say one thing real quick. I was saying, by the way, congratulations! This is your first podcast. We're gonna have a lot of fun here. You guys be sure to subscribe. Fantasy Aid. Check them out on Twitter at Fantasy Aid 1. Mm-hmm. We love our Andrew. We love him.
Of course, Thomas with FantasySportsAddicts.com. Their Twitter is at FS, the word double A, FSAA, and their YouTube channel is Fantasy Sports Addicts Anonymous.
Yeah, but that hardly matters because we're here talking Fantasy Aid tonight. We got to talk about baseball.
Oh yeah.
Let's hear some. Let's get into it. I mean, you've got this show lined up. I'm just here to ride along and. I'm riding shotgun,
Right.
So sure nothing goes wrong. So let's talk about this. Hit me up.
Any talk about April wouldn't be complete if we didn't start with the injuries, of course.
Good Lord.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if any team didn't get caught with the injury bug, you're probably the luckiest fantasy sports person alive.
Right. Fortune smiles upon thee.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. April was an exciting April in terms of not necessarily what happened offensively or pitching wise, but think about all the injuries. I mean, minor players, major players, some were incidental, bump and run, some were stupid injuries. But it was not if you literally went through April somehow unscathed. Fortune smiles upon thee. You're lucky, right, Andrew?
Oh, definitely. I mean, especially in the pitching department. I mean, that's been the roughest part just because of how shallow pitching already is.
There is no pitching. I feel like there's no pitching left. Feel free to correct me on this, but I feel like I have no pitching.
Yeah. If Bumgarner's gone, Syndergaard's gone, how many aces are actually left in pitching like aces now? Off the top of my head, Darvish,
None?
Kershaw,
maybe Archer, maybe. But Kershaw's dinged up. Kershaw's kind of day to day.
Yeah,
nothing has been that there's no, and it's still early. We're only a month in. It's still early in the season. There's plenty of time for rebounds and all that, and we'll talk about that.
Definitely.
But my goodness, it has been just a disaster. It's a disaster zone. Yeah, right. Going through, think about how many teams you have. And I know you're in deeper leagues than I am. You play 20-team leagues, you play 30-team leagues. Let's talk about when you've got injuries that deep and that prolific. What do you do? I mean, you've just got your whole bench is stacked with hurt players, right?
You basically play with Chris Young's in the outfield and then pick up whatever starter has a pulse.
Right. You're streaming starters with a pulse at that point. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Now, how many 20-team league, I picked up Alex Wood, who looks like he's going to be the starter replacing Rich Hill in the Dodgers rotation, and he's looking good.
Okay.
There's not always how many out there.
What's the worst? How many players do you have on the DL? Worst case scenario, your worst team situation.
6, I think.
Wow. I mean, that's so. But I'm guessing these aren't players that you drafted because they were. This isn't I'm tanking or I stashed injured players. This is top tier players, lower tier players. I hope were sleepers, guys in the middle of the road. And then, by the way, there was that Marte PED suspension, stuff like that, right?
Right. I'm lucky I didn't get more Marte because I loved him in the offseason. I'm just lucky that people got him before me.
There you go. Right, like you kind of dodged that one, especially.
Mhm.
I mean, especially Roto. I mean, ugh.
Mhm.
It's not a fun situation out there. So April was rough for all of us, and we'll talk about that. But you know what? I think we want to have a positive tone for this podcast, don't we, Andrew? Like,
yes, we do.
I think, right? You're talking about showers and flowers. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone can know about the negatives, but there were a ton of positives if you look closely for a lot of players that we were targeting as sleepers.
That's true. Yeah, sleepers we liked. Well, but there was also some negatives for some sleepers we liked, but
Definitely.
we'll look at that as well. I mean, do you just want to dive right in here? Do you want to talk about pluses, minuses, or do you want to go anywhere else first?
Jump right in.
All right, you sent me a player list earlier today. I've perused the list, and this is your show. Please lead, and please please instruct me as to how I should feel about these players, because
I think one of the biggest rebound guys this year so far is Michael Brantley. I mean, you know, he looks like pre-injury Michael Brantley.
And when was that injury? It seems like it was like 9 years ago.
It was last year, actually.
Okay, but somehow it feels like it was forever ago.
I know it does.
It does seem that long. So
yeah, I mean, back in 2015, he had 45 doubles, batted .310, 15 homers, 15 stolen bases, and then he played 11 games in 2016.
So, yeah, that's, you're happy to have that back.
Right.
For sure.
And he's showing surprising power. I mean, he's already hit 5 home runs, and this is just the first month. His career high is 20, and that was back in 2014. So he could possibly surpass that, in my opinion. I mean, and definitely, back when he played in 2015 and 2014, the Indians lineup wasn't as good back then.
No, that is true. It's a little more stacked, obviously, when you add a Double E and Edwin Encarnacion. Mm-hmm. When you got something like that, it's a little bit more exciting, but
right, And he is stealing some bases. I mean, he's got 3. Okay. Not a ton, but it's nice to see him running a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, I mean, again, you don't want to see him running so much that he's going to risk another injury at this point.
Right. He was never
since he's doing well.
He was never the high stolen base guy. He was the guy that gave you a little bit of everything.
So you're happy with that. I mean, how many shares do you have? I'd like to hear a number of shares that you have.
I have 1 share.
Okay, one share.
Yeah.
1 share. All right, and that's the one thing I want to talk about, because some of these guys that we have that are doing so well so far, how many shares do you actually have? Like, you might have 1 share of like one of these guys in like one league, but the list will be interesting. So we'll go through that, and I feel like, I'm like, wow, I really don't have that many of these players.
Right.
And then I look over at the not doing well, and I'm like, I have more of those.
Yeah, that's true on my side too. I definitely like a lot of the positives are actually waiver wire pickups for the most part, except for
pickups. Yeah, there's a handful. We'll go through them, but like let's So Brantley again, like former history, former pedigree guy,
right?
Back in action, looking good, like back to form. So
right.
Hopefully if you've got him, like that maintains, right?
I mean, the only concern is his strikeout rate is pretty high compared to like what he had. His career high strikeout was 76 in 2011, and like in his best year, he only struck out 56 times, but he struck out 18 times last month. So I mean, that's not bad for overall, but for him, it's a little high, but it's not too concerning.
Well, we've got Cubby chiming in on the YouTube chat. He's saying his hard hit percentage is 48, which is not too bad.
No, that is not bad at all.
So, but anyway, that's the one thing. We're still early. Let's not. We're not advocating that you go bonkers over these players, but like, let's celebrate the good that has happened. Okay.
Yes.
Like April showers might be bringing us Mayflowers. Let's continue here, because the next name is. That you've sent me. I don't even want to get involved in this because I drank the Kool-Aid too hard last year.
Yeah.
I spiked the punch even.
Well, I mean, he wasn't that bad last year either, though.
Well, no, but like, and now I'm like, I don't even know,
Right.
I'm a homer sometimes, and I mess up, and
And of course, the player we're
I'll
talking
admit.
about is Yasmani Tomas for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, looking pretty good. Looking
Yep.
pretty good.
I mean, he hit 30
Right?
homers last year, and he's right back there. 5 home runs already. Of course, he's not walking, but he never has, so that's not anything new for him.
Right. Right. Like, he does not walk. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but he's one of those. I mean, maybe that's not the style of baseball he grew up playing. He's a Cuban player, so
Right.
maybe they got a little different style there.
What's encouraging is more than half his hits are extra base hits.
Exactly. I like, just as a sidebar, I'm not going to get too crazy on the Kool-Aid, but it's been fun to watch the Diamondbacks offense.
Oh,
This
it
year.
definitely has. They've
because
exceeded expectations.
I was going to say, you've got a couple of Diamondbacks on your list here for positives. It's been fun to watch the offense, and they're one of those teams. Just if you haven't watched them, they're in the shadows. They're not like one of those popular teams that a lot of people watch. Watch a D-backs game. Watch some offense. I mean, there's a little bit of everything for you to see.
I feel like that's the way in general for most of the expansion teams. The Rays, the Diamondbacks. They're kind of off to the side, all of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, still, I mean, it's just that shadow. You're like hidden in the, just in the weeds. I don't know.
So but definitely, as a fantasy player, you want to pay attention to the D-backs lineup.
Okay, Tomas is very popular on the YouTube chat. Everybody's loving their Yaz money.
Oh yeah,
with the $, right? And it's pretty good. So. All right, let's talk more names. Who else has been really good? We've had some pitching that's been really good. You got like 3 pitchers lined up here.
Definitely.
That are worth talking about. I have none again.
The first guy on the list is the one I most universally own, and that's Jameson Taillon. I targeted him in most drafts I was in. Pretty excited for him. And I think he's exceeded expectations for me so far. Well, a little bit. The walks are a little concerning, but he struck out a little bit more than I thought he would so far into the season.
Okay. Now, what's the way you have these 3 listed? Is there a significance to the 3, or is it just these are underdrafted guys or players that you picked up off the waiver wire? That are now like
them, you need listed, to have. I think it's kind of talent level wise. Taillon's obviously the top of those 3. The other 2 guys have been waiver wire pickups for me mostly.
Okay, and those 2 would be Hellickson and Leake, Mike Leake and Jeremy Hellickson, Hellboy and Leake. Now, all right, look, let's talk about wins and losses here. What if you have 3 of these guys? These 3. How many wins have you picked up so far this year? Do you have that information?
I do. You have 2 with Taillon.
Okay.
Got Leak up here. Internet's a little slow today. But yeah, 2 in the 2.08 ERA obviously is great. Now the FIP doesn't support that, but he isn't giving up any home runs. He's got 0.6 home runs per 9 innings, which is
he's keeping the ball down. Yeah, that's great. That's very encouraging.
And then of course you got Mike Leake. He's 3-1, and his ERA is 1.35, and his FIP is 1.97.
Obviously, again, not probably the rest of the season, but
no. Guess how many home runs he's given up?
None. 2?
Exactly. Done. Mike Leake has not given up any homers this year yet.
Really? Okay. All right. That's good. Right. That's good to hear.
And his strikeout rate is up so far over last year. His whip is under 1. Like, if you picked him up off the wire, he's been one of the hottest pitchers so far. Obviously, he's not the biggest strikeout guy, but he is definitely contributing stats that you need.
Absolutely.
And it's nice to see. I mean, he struggled in his first year with the Cardinals last year, 4.69 ERA. I honestly think that was the defense, because he's a ground ball pitcher, and you need a good defense. He needs a good defense behind him, because he's not going to strike out those guys.
Right. Okay, so let's see here.
It looks like we lost Tom here.
Press the wrong button. I was trying to go to Twitter here. I wanted to pull up the window that closed, but I'm back. Oh my, sorry about that.
Oh, you're
Sorry.
fine. And
Sorry,
then
Andrew.
Halliston's been just as impressive as Leak, although the fit doesn't support it. He's 4-0, so he's already got 4 wins on the season. For a Phillies team, that's not that great.
Yeah, that's a terrible Phillies team, but 4 wins already. I mean,
The biggest thing with him, though, a warning sign for me, he has 30 innings. He has 11 strikeouts.
Yeah, you'd like to see more strikeouts. And you know what? He's always been kind of known as a fringe strikeout sort of pitcher.
Right. I mean, that puts him at a 3.3 strikeouts per 9.
Which is very low. But again, I mean, if he's pitching to contact effectively, as their like 3rd or 4th starter, might not be the worst thing ever. I mean, if he's effective, you can't argue with the results.
No, you can't. I mean, he's got a 0.8 whip on the season.
I was going to say, you would want more strikeouts in fantasy purposes. But if the guy's effective, I mean, you can still take the peripheral stats minus the strikeouts, the ratios, especially if you're just like spot starting that. I don't know why the strikeouts are that down. Have we seen any data about like velocity decreases or?
I haven't. I have watched some of his starts. He seems to be pitching more to contact because he's not walking guys. I think that's just kind of because he did. I mean, he had an okay season last year. He was a stream kind of guy if you had him.
Right.
But, I think he's trying to improve this year when it comes to going deeper into games, pitch count wise, and it is working so far for him.
Yeah, well, again, it's trust the defense behind you. This is why you have, and there are a lot of pitchers who have been very effective, not necessarily strikeout pitchers, that are very effective that pitch to contact, but they know how to get runners out, batters out,
right.
It's not about striking them out necessarily. I mean, we always like the strikeouts for fantasy purposes.
And as Cubby kind of pointed out in the chat, he was talking about Tyone, but the one thing all these pitchers have in common is they're all ground ball pitchers.
Right. So, and they're getting defense that works behind them. So,
right. I mean,
that's your excitement right there. Is what's going on. So that plays into those 3 pitchers.
Definitely.
So we've also got now your next offensive players would be Drury and Benintendi. And Benintendi, obviously, like top prospect going into the season, starting the year in the majors. Everybody was excited. Yada yada, yada yada yada.
When I think of how Benintendi's done, I think Michael Brantley 2015.
I'd say that seems like a fair comparison. That seems reasonable. I won't disagree with that.
He's hitting for average. He's walking. He's stolen 2 bases, and he hits a little bit of power. He's not going to hit 30 home runs, but 15 is more than realistic for his pace right now.
Right.
You'd like to see the doubles up, but overall, he's hit really well. I mean, in that Boston lineup, I mean, he's already scored 15 runs.
Right. Now, you've also got Brandon Drury here. We talked about Drury duty, and, you got to have Brandon Drury. He was one of my favorite sleeper picks this year. But Drury is you've got him in the positives. I got to say I'm a little bit underwhelmed. He hasn't been bad. I would put him more middle of the road, more like smack dab in the middle, if I may. Yeah. Because now he's not. That's just a polite disagreement.
Right. And the thing for him,
he has done for what you paid for him. Ideally, in most leagues, you're right. Like he is a positive. He's a net gain.
If he was a second baseman only, he wouldn't be on the positives. But just because of the roster flexibility he gives you, he's giving you a good average. He's got an OBP of 370. He's. I think where are they still batting him lower in the order?
I'm trying to think where he was batting last night. Actually, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I can't. I watched so many games last night, and I'm still watching more games today. I'm trying to think. You know what? Like, I think he's actually. I mean, he's been bounced around. I did bench him actually yesterday in favor of another player in our dynasty leagues, but that's the only league where I've actually got him because, you know, Drury was a very popular pick amongst the addicts.
Terror Knights in the chat makes actually a really good point. Thinking of a Diamondbacks player that is doing fantastic is Chris Owings.
Yeah, Owings. I mean, you gotta love it. I mean, he's had the pedigree where he could hit. He's always done okay, but I think this lineup, like the Diamondbacks lineup, again, as a D-backs guy, let me adjust my D-back shot, you know? Like, think about it, like he's an offensive first with some defensive capabilities, second base, shortstop, flexible utility player. And
he's got 19 RBIs already in the season, 7 steals, which is just fantastic, and he's hitting for average.
Exactly. So Owings has been very, very nice, especially with his positional eligibility. Already snapped up in most of the leagues I'm in. So,
so would you think the rest of the season you would prefer Owings over not Benintendi, Drury?
No, I don't.
Okay, so you think Drury will get better? Yes,
I do. Again, he's been more like I expected a little bit more power. He's on the positive list. He's done very well. Like he's had a fine season thus far. Just maybe I'm just a little maybe I was just too gassed up on Drury myself. Like maybe I was just too excited. Like I bought into the hype and the
Kool-Aid. I mean, he was your guy in the offseason.
He definitely was. And so I think I expected a little bit more power, and I think maybe the power will come eventually. And I'm not talking like 40 home runs or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
No.
15,
I always kind
15, 20, but
yeah.
And he just had it. He got his first one this weekend. So,
but the weather only heats up from here in Arizona.
And that ball well, we'll see what happens when they install the humidor. But again, that ball flies in Arizona in the heat. So, but it's a dry heat. Now you got a couple more pitchers listed here. We got some guy that we all forgot about 5 years ago or something. Lance Lynn. And right, and then this guy who's this Triggs guy.
I just had to put it on. I had to put him on just because of his numbers. I mean, if you look at Triggs, he has really impressive numbers. He's 4-1. He's got a 1.84 ERA.
Beautiful.
29 innings, 22 strikeouts, 0.92 WHIP.
Okay. All right. Again, the peripherals, you'd prefer more strikeouts, but the WHIP, the ERA, all that, you're not going to argue with.
And his FIP is under 3, so, it's supporting that he's pitching well.
There you go. And we were all like, who's this Triggs guy? Right? So he's, all right, Triggs, but then Lance Lynn, I guess, he dug his way out of, he climbed up 6 feet and dug his way out of the ground. He's back from the dead, pitching for St. Louis again. I mean, I forgot, again, this is another one of those guys you, forgot all about. From a few years ago.
And I kind of forgot about him until the late, when I saw, man, he's got the velocity back and all that, and maybe I should start taking a look at him, because he was always, if anything, he always got those wins. I mean, he was 18-7 and 12.
Yeah, he was steady.
13 and 14.
Yeah, it was never supremely exciting or sexy, but it was more than serviceable. And this was a guy that was on my dynasty teams up until that Tommy John. And when you got a guy that hits Tommy John, you're like, see ya.
Right. And knock on wood, but his WHIP, it's typically in the 1.3s, but right now he's got it at 1.091 through the first month, which is definitely encouraging to see. He's only given up 6.8 hits per 9. In 2015, he gave up 8.8. So he's improved on that front so far. His home run rate is 1.2 per 9, but that's nowhere near his career norm, so I expect that to kind of stabilize a little bit.
Right. Now let's
again,
let's get back in. Oh, whoa, cigar. So, excuse me. I got excited about something. I saw your list. Go ahead though. Finish your thought.
Yeah, just he's not going to be a 2 ERA guy. Like his ERA is going to go over 3, but he's going to be a decent guy as the rest of the season.
Fair source of wins, some Ks, and relatively
and he's
competitive stats. And
it's always a positive when you have your TJ behind you.
Yes. Well, it's again, if the velocity's up, it means the elbow's healthy. Maybe it's even better than it was.
Yeah,
before.
and probably makes a good point. Lynn's FIP is at 4.32, but I think he can be like a mid-3s ERA guy. I don't think he's that high.
Okay.
Because I think the home rate is a little inflated right now.
Right. Yes. All right, I kind of keep throwing up in my mouth a little bit. I don't know why that is, but let's get to the next name on your list.
All right, yeah.
Because I want to get it out of the way. Let's just rinse this out. Like we got Life, we're using Life shampoo.
You can only avoid him so long before talking about him.
Before you have to. I mean, you have to. We have to. We've avoided it. We've ignored it. Let's talk about it.
And we're talking about the number 1 player right now in fantasy baseball, and that is Ryan Zimmerman. He's batting .420 on the season. .420. Like
normally I'd be okay with that number, but no, today I'm not.
Of course, he's leading the NL in home runs with 11. I mean, and we knew going in that the Nationals lineup was going to be good. Like you wanted national players, but Ryan Zimmerman wasn't one of the guys I saw coming for their lineup.
Well, I mean, again, it still seems like it's just a matter of time until he gets hurt or the worm turns, essentially.
But that would be rough for them. Obviously, Eaton gone for the year, so
right.
They don't want to lose any more batting there.
It's one of those things, though. I mean, he is actually all right. There's obvious behind the scenes reasons why we're oh, Ryan Zimmerman.
Yes.
But when you look at it from a fantasy perspective, I mean, he is having an incredible season, and nobody drafted him except for maybe paying $1 in a dynasty or a roto or some sort of auction scenario. You didn't.
Yeah.
Nobody was oh, Ryan Zimmerman. And he's
if anything, you look at him in a 20-team league, he's in a good lineup. I'll pick him up in a 20-team league. But we know him. I wasn't looking for him in 12-team leagues at all.
Never. No, not one time ever. I mean, Eric Thames, more exciting, more likely to be drafted, both with the same level of unknowns and uncertainties. But this Zimmerman thing, though, I mean, it's Looney Tunes. I mean, the whole Nationals lineup, though, I mean, they are hitting.
Definitely. I mean, they scored 23 runs yesterday.
23 runs against the Mets. Now that was the Mets, right? I think it was.
Yeah.
But again,
thinking of a different player. You want to hear an interesting stat?
I sure would.
Trey Turner is batting .213 with no homers and I think 2 steals outside of Coors Field so far this season.
I did not know that. But you know what? That's not surprising, right? Everybody hits well in Colorado. And
right.
Well, good Lord. I mean, that's, but this, generally speaking, though, this whole Nationals lineup is just, everybody's just doing well. It's got to be very exciting if you're a Nationals fan.
Exactly. I mean, Bryce Harper's doing Bryce Harper things again. I was pretty down on him. I wasn't drafting him just because of the risk. I only drafted him in one league. Thankfully, it was a money league. But, I mean, he's been impressive. But then again, he was impressive last April, too.
And then the rest of the season panned out, and he fell short of expectations. Right. I would assume, though, I mean, there's always those players that are hot early on. And I'm sure a few of these players we're talking about now are those players, but
some of these guys probably may not be too much relative by All-Star break. I would still put Zimmerman under that. I mean, he's not going to bat .420 the rest of the season. I mean, I think he'll get good counting stats, but I still doubt he can keep up anything like this.
Could you imagine though if he actually did hit over 400? Like,
I would like to see that. I would like to. Well, I'd like to see a player hit over 400.
Well, we've never seen it in our lifetime. Obviously, that's like Ted Williams stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's like the. I mean, that all happened in the same summer. There was the Ted Williams batting averages, and there was the DiMaggio streak. That all happened in the same summer.
The most recent thing I remember was Nomar Garcia Park going for it.
But if that does happen and somehow he's that good, you know what? I mean, I might just have to eat some underwear. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not a promise. That's just a threat.
But I mean, he only hit 300 once in his career, excluding his 20 games in his career year and his rookie year. He had over 300 in 2010.
Okay. Wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, he hit 218 last year. I know he was injured.
Well,
but...
yeah, I mean, I remember a lot of bad years and a lot of injuries, and like, there's a lot I remember. And like, he wasn't even rostered. And now he's like a waiver pickup, but now, I mean, if he somehow continues that, I mean, hey, more power to him. I don't know. I mean, that's.
And he's not on the list, but one thing I want to mention, like, one game can really change your whole perspective on a player in an entire month, and I think what I'm talking about. Anthony Rendon.
Yeah, right. Where he goes 6 for 6, 10 RBIs, 3 jacks.
Yeah, right. Like he goes from batting 231 on the month to 278, 5 RBIs to 15. Like, it shows it's still early, and players can change their stats in a hurry.
Well, and this is why, by the way, like, Roto is kind of a beautiful game. I mean, like, most of the leagues we have are head-to-head, right? Like, our dynasty leagues are all head-to-head. But the beauty of Roto is, like, that one big game means something. Like, that actually counts. It's more than just, like, well, I kind of, like, beat up the bad team that week in the head-to-head league, and I got some nice stats, but they really didn't matter because I was winning anyways,
or losing so bad.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things. It's just like it doesn't matter in a head-to-head league necessarily. But in a Roto, you get that from Rendon, and you're like, yeah, yep,
exactly,
absolutely, absolutely. So, all right, let's speed through here. We got a few more pitching. We got Nova and Kennedy. Obviously off to, like, very nice starts.
Yeah, Ian Kennedy was the guy I drafted. Nova was more of a waiver wire pickup for most people like me. The thing about Kennedy, he doesn't have any wins because Kansas City sucks.
Bad stuff. But he's at least putting together some quality starts. I always liked IPK. I always liked IPK.
Yeah.
When he was here for the D-backs, but again, just he was never meant to be an ace.
No. He's that middle of the rotation guy that'll give you innings and give you a decent amount of Ks.
Yep. And I think that kind of applies to Nova too.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Nova just definitely turned it around with the Pirates. I mean, he's been impressive. He was impressive last year when he was traded to the Pirates, where he had a 3.06 ERA. And I mean, his ERA is 1.5, but his FIP is 2.69. And so it's supporting that he's doing that well. And of course, the strikeouts are low, 5.5 per 9, but he's got 0.3 walks per 9. He's walked one person.
Okay. Well, so obviously not sustainable. He's an early surprise, but a mid-season disappointment. Like, sell high is what you're saying.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he's got a good. I mean, he's not going to be this good, but the numbers back him up. The numbers do back him up. He's got a .75 whip. I mean, obviously, if you can get a solid mid-tire pitcher for him, I would do that in a heartbeat. But I wouldn't so quick to write him off.
I've just never been a big Nova fan, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but
yeah, I mean, he did have. I mean,
I'd still.
He's been in the league a while since 2010, and I think wasn't he a big deal back when he came up?
Yeah, well, yeah, he was. Yeah, obviously a lot more exciting. And
I mean, his career strikeout rate is 6.7, and that's nothing to write home about. But
right, that's kind of pretty much the main thing about that.
But in this pitching atmosphere, he's been pretty valuable if you have him.
Well,
so
yeah. I mean, again, I always tend to discount the whole like what's going on so far thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just because I'm like a crusty old veteran, like a salty sea dog. Like, well, let me see what happens in 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Obviously, like you said, this isn't guys we're saying run out, trade for him right now. Not hyping him. It's just kind of the people that have done well so far
noteworthy
in the season.
Right.
Yes.
Now we got like a big string of like pretty nice outfielders after this. Conforto, Brandon Phillips, who's like, I don't know. He's like
Phillips
700 years old.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, he's already had 5 stolen bases on the season, and he's hitting homers. But Conforto is a frustrating player to own, and that's just because why don't the Mets start him every day with what he's batting .321? He's got over 1,000 OPS, and you're not starting him every day.
I don't know if you saw the GIF or the meme or whatever it was that Cubby retweeted or somebody posted. It was like a flaming like dump truck on fire, like crashing or something. That's the Mets. Like, I don't know what's going on there. They're like, we watched videos yesterday of little kids swearing and screaming, like kids that are 7 years old, swearing at the Mets. Like, and they start them young, they start them angry as Mets fans. And like, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I mean,
now,
like,
they've positive for him lately. He has been batting leadoff lately, what happens when Cespedes comes back? That's the thing. Are they going to go back to spot starting him again?
They can't. They have to find room for these players. They have to find room for their young players. They have to.
Jay Bruce is going to cool off. Jay Bruce and Conforto's going to take a spot.
There's still room for Jay Bruce. There's still room for Conforto.
Well, I think
if the Cubs could do this sort of thing, the Mets could too. The Mets have so many offensive prospects.
Right.
So many, again, Cespedes coming back. When you're wasting Conforto on like off days.
Thinking of hitting prospects, they have Dominic Smith, their first baseman in the minors. He's another one of those guys that's projected to hit for average. And he's batting .337 actually in the minors right now, and they can't keep him down too much longer.
Same for Ahmed Rosario.
Yeah.
Now they do have Asdrubal Cabrera.
They do.
Which he could be shifted around, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Play maybe more of a utility role, like flex sort of role.
Now, they have Neil Walker at second, Wright at third, but I think Asdrubal can play second or third, so he can give those guys.
I believe Wright's going on the DL.
Yeah, when is he not?
So, well, right. Obviously David Wright is perpetually injured, but I actually think he is physically going on the DL currently, like next day.
I haven't been keeping up with him because I don't have him on any roster at all.
Well, who would? How do you? Not even in the deepest of leagues are you like trying to draft that. You're like, if you took him, you were like, man, I hope I strike gold here.
Exactly.
Same thing with Zimmerman, and he did. But I just think the Mets have got to go with the youth movement. It's like the Philadelphia 76ers in basketball.
Yeah, you got to
turn the youth loose.
They embraced it with pitching. Do the same with batting, and don't get them all injured.
Well, you would hope that, again, pitching's so finicky. Pitching gets injured.
Yeah.
I could see – I see that. I see how that happens. But, if these bats can swing, man, those bats can swing.
Exactly.
Is what I'm saying. So, now, all right, continuing with the theme of bats, we got David Peralta, Mitch Haniger, and Jose Ramirez still here on your list.
Right. Brandon Phillips, when he got traded from the Reds, you're like, oh, man, he's going to the Braves. And, all he's done is bat .355 with 2 homers and 5 steals.
So he's still got the speed and he's got the batting average. But you know,
It's a deep position, second base.
right. I mean, like, I couldn't find a team where I had to add him, to be honest.
Right. I added
was
him in
looking
one roto just because of the steals to see if he could get me some.
at,
But
like, maybe like a
that,
super deep team, yeah.
yeah. I just want to give you a live update. Jed Jerko just walked off the Cardinals in the 10th, and he's a guy that's been playing well. He's been batting cleanup a lot for them lately.
Okay. There we go. Little Jerko action.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So your last three batters you got listed here as far as positives. You know, you got David Peralta, Mitch Haniger, and Jose Ramirez.
Mm-hmm.
Of all those three, I have more David Peralta just on a whim pickup. And again, I've seen more because I've watched him as a Diamondbacks fan.
Exactly.
Haniger was a very popular Addicts draft pick this year.
Yeah.
So is Jose Ramirez.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's talk about, of those three, we all know, just to kind of condense time here.
Yeah.
Of those three, which of those are you most excited about going forward?
That's a tough question.
Obviously, Haniger's on the DL.
Right. If you were talking upside, I think Haniger. But overall, I mean, you can't ignore what Jose Ramirez has done the last few years. I mean, he's only 24 years old. Like, this is his 24-year-old season, Ramirez, and he's batting 330 right now. He batted 312 last year, and he gets you steals. He stole 22 bases last year.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot.
Again, Cleveland has a great lineup, and he's hit 6 home runs this year. He hit 11 last year.
I was gonna say that's already a pretty nice total compared to what he's known.
Yeah, he's gonna have a career high this year.
Yeah,
barring something, in 982 OPS, he's been hot, much like a lot of the Indians lineup has. We've already talked about Brantley. They've been doing well, kind of like the Diamondbacks. They've had a pretty good offense so far.
Well, that's why I was gonna say I'll play the homer on this, and of those three, and not necessarily for dynasty purposes, but for redraft, I'm pretty excited about Peralta because it's not about what his power is. He hits a lot of doubles, which are very nice. But what he has this sort of persona, this power. He's a clubhouse guy. The lineup, the team, they love him. He has this effervescent persona and personality that is very infectious, and he does this freight train thing, and he gets the team all fired up. And so the fact that he's healthy and A.J. Pollock is healthy and Lamb is hitting and Goldie's hitting, I just think the Diamondbacks offense, I don't want to go so far as to say that David Peralta is the straw that stirs the drink, but he sort of has that persona where he's very he's infectious.
Exactly.
You love to watch him, and the teammates get fired up, and everybody's excited because he's just he's like a kid. He's like a kid. Exactly. Now he's 29 years old, but I think I'm a little biased.
Fantasy-wise, I think people forget how good he was in 2015. He batted 312 with 17 home runs, 10 triples. And last year was down, but he was hurt. Yeah,
he was hurt most of the year. The whole dang outfield was hurt. I mean, it was bad news. And so, that was part of the Diamondbacks' struggles was their defense was down because most of the team was hurt. Everybody was playing out of position. And again, we've got a whole new coaching system. We got the players are all healthy and back.
Cubby points out Peralta's hard hit rate is 43% right now, and that's great.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to say one more D-back shout out. That Lamb home run, the longest of the season.
Yeah.
At 481. Oh.
I mean, I'm willing to say I've been wrong about Lamb so far. I have definitely been wrong.
But I was going to say, he seems to be hitting left-handed pitching. And when we talked about that, I absolutely took that into consideration because, again, that's a thing. That's a thing. You talk about a player who's not, prone to hitting left-handed pitching and all right, yeah, I got to consider that. And you look at the stats and you're like, wow, that's even more than I thought it was. And
absolutely, yeah.
But as good as some of these players have been, like we've talked about a few of the guys that are good, let's blast through some of the major disappointments. And we don't need to highlight why they are disappointments per se, because I want to keep your podcast on time. But let's talk about like some of the stuff that's gone down here, because this is just, you know, I mean, if you haven't had injuries, well, I want to say, if you haven't had injuries, you've had disappointments. That's this year. So
exactly. And I think the top guy is probably, you know, everybody wanted him in our drafts this year, you know. He was going early, you know, early season, you know, and then the hype kind of picked up once Phillips was traded and it went to full blown. He was being picked before the 100th pick kind of thing.
Yeah. That's obviously Jose Peraza.
Exactly. And he is stealing bases. He's got 7 steals so far on the season, only caught once.
Right. But, so net stolen bases are 6.
Yeah. He has the same slugging percentage as his OBP, which is 258. Yeah.
Not exactly what you want.
No.
Although you love the steals. I mean, like, what is it? What is it where you got all these Reds players that can steal bases? And
yeah. I think Hamilton stole 3 today. Cubby told me that earlier.
Yeah, I was going to say, but they, you know, they rarely get on base, but when they are, they run. Right. They run like crazy, which is great, I guess. But
right, and
he was. Well, I was gonna say Peraza was just dropped in the FSAA league. Everybody fell asleep on the waiver wire, or either nobody cared, or like everybody fell asleep on the waiver wire. Peraza was like just this sort of like casual, like, I'll pick him up, and like that's how like when we were all going berserk, like. I remember in your first draft. What was it? Do we even have that league anymore? It was on the.
Yeah, we do. It's still up. It's still up on.
Okay, but so it was a Fantrax league. It was the first draft we did. It was like way back in December.
Yeah.
And I think Peraza was like my last pick in the draft, and I was like, you know, fist pumping, like total broski on it. And from there, the hype grew, and it wasn't by me, but it was just by everybody. Everybody's stolen bases. Phillips is traded.
We
stolen
thought he was
bases. Full-time playing.
Basically.
Right. That's where. Do you think this will rebound? Because I still love this speed pedigree.
Right. I don't think he's this bad. I do think he will improve now. I'm not quite so sure on the 300 batting average thing. I got his BABIP up here. Let me pull it up. How he's done so far. Let's see here. And obviously he's not going to be a hard contact guy because he's not a homer guy. You know,
he's a speedster. Yeah.
Yeah, his BABIP right now is currently 259. Last year it was 361. You got to think that comes up. I don't think he's good. 361 was a little high for him, but you know he's a speed guy. It's going to come up some.
That's gotta. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe you just got to learn to slap. He's just got to do the. It's going to be the Cincinnati chop now. It's not the Baltimore chop anymore. It's the Cincinnati chop. You just chop it where they aren't. I mean, we've got so many defensive shifts that aren't going on in the past of baseball, but. You know, you just chop it and run like hell. I don't know.
Exactly. And then quickly moving to the second guy, you know, this was a late first baseman you would get, CJ Cron.
He's been dropped in like every week.
But even when he wasn't injured, they weren't playing him every day. And even when they did, he sucked. So.
Is he just floating out to sea?
I think so.
Fracture off a piece of the ice and let him float away and wave goodbye?
Yeah. I mean, their other first baseman he was platooning with is doing nothing better, but there are better first basemen you can grab, especially in 12-team leagues right now. Like, he's not worth holding on to at all. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to dropping him on the wire.
Now, the next 2 guys, I think, maybe even the next 3 or 4 guys you've got on your list, 5. 5, maybe even more. Let's talk about these, because I think you've listed these as personal disappointments.
I have.
Look, these are personal disappointments, I think, more than anything. Let's talk about this here, because we got, I'll just let you read them. I'll let you read them and tell me what you're thinking about these players.
Now, obviously, the first guy is Aledmys Diaz. Started off the season great. He's still leading the Cardinals in home runs, but when you're batting 217 with an OBP of 234, The thing is, he's not striking out. He has 9 strikeouts on the month, but he has 2 walks.
Yeah.
He has 2 walks in the month. To give context, last year he walked 41 to striking out 60.
Okay, just
That's
the whole
just not
year.
happening this year right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did hit a home run today. He went 2 for 5, I think.
Okay.
Hopefully, I think he'll break it out. When you look at his hard contact rate, etc., it's right around where he was last year. His BABIP's low. I think he will rebound. So,
all right. So you're holding Diaz, Aledmus Diaz,
right,
or possibly even buying.
Yeah, and he stole 4 bases last year. He already has 3. I think he can get 10 or so this year, which adds a little bit to his repertoire.
Okay. All right, let's go on here because we got a good mix of outfielders here for the next 2.
The biggest disappointment for me so far, and that's Gregory Polanco. This was the guy I was saying is going to have his big season. He's not injured anymore, and that's just simply not happened so far. You know, hasn't hit a home run. He's got 4 RBIs, 5 steals, which is okay. But there's nothing to write home about at all. He's batting low again, 247. I thought we'd see that batting average come up a little bit, but it hasn't so far. I thought he could be a 270 guy and with a power speed combo. And that's just not happening.
I mean, there's I feel like there's a chance. I mean, he's kind of got a lot of opportunity with Marte out.
Mm-hmm.
So
and his ISO is lower than last year, but his BABIP is actually higher than last year so far.
All right. So I mean, Polanco. I mean, what do you think? I mean, are you out on Polanco, or are you still thinking there's a rebound?
I'm not.
I still think there's a rebound.
Yeah, I think in dynasty leagues, and maybe not redraft, but dynasty leagues, it's the perfect time to buy him. I mean, he's still really young. This is his year 25 season. Like, if I was in a dynasty, I'd be trying to buy him. Like, throw him some offer, like, hey, I'll take a chance on this guy if you want. Just give him one of the hot starters. Looking at the list, like, I'd give him a Conforto or a Ryan Zimmerman, something like that. See if he'll bite.
Right. See if you can get somebody with a hot start, get him to buy that. Especially if it's a team where maybe it's not necessarily like in the tank. I mean, if it's like a Polanco's on like the worst dynasty team in the league, you might not, because that guy's probably like, well, no, I kind of am holding my Polanco. But if it's the guy that's like playing to move up in like 3rd, 4th place, absolutely.
Now I will say he's riding my bench right now. Definitely, he is riding my bench right now.
With that being said, fair enough.
Yeah.
Now we got old man Kendry here. We got Kendrys.
Right.
Man,
it's just personal disappointment. Mostly on the average, I guess. A little bit on the power too. He hasn't been as well as I thought he would in Toronto so far. Because he's got a 667 OPS, 227 batting average. Which, you'd
like to see. I expected higher. Yeah. I mean, I really did, especially with the Toronto
4 homers so far.
Offense.
Nothing to write home about.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not bad.
I was gonna say I can live with the 4 homers, but I would have expected a little bit more production. But that whole Toronto offense has been just stagnant.
I don't even have Devin Travis on this list, but I think I've dropped Devin Travis in a couple places. Like, he's just been brutal.
Okay, so
it's just that entire offense. You're right. Batista is the same way.
Yeah, I mean, are they rebounding or are they past their prime and the ship sailed?
I mean, their offense isn't this bad. I don't think they'll reach last year's level. They'll level off somewhere.
All right, I'm starting to feel like the ship sailed myself, but I don't know.
I mean, it does hurt. They brought in Morales to replace Edwin, but he's not Edwin. He doesn't have that fire that Edwin had.
No, well, I mean, again, he was one of those straws that stirred the drink. Like a Reggie Jackson. So, moving on, we got 2 more pitchers here. Cotton and Seymour. You got your Jarrell Cotton and Carlos Martinez. These are another two of your kind of like I was pretty happy to draft type of players. Also players I don't have. It's funny, I don't have a lot of players on either of these lists. I have a few players, but not many. Like I have like one or two.
I actually
on either side of the list.
traded for Cotton recently.
Okay.
Now, last year he very limited sample size, and I think we may have gone a little bit overboard on him just with that small 30-inning sample size. But his numbers do suggest he's pitching, he will get better. His FIP is 3.54 compared to his 5 ERA. What's really killing him is hits. 10.3 hits per 9.
Well, I mean, is that a factor of being home versus away by any chance, or?
It could be. I don't know how many home starts
Again,
he had.
Like I said, I don't have a lot of these players, so I haven't looked at the like split stats. Like
Exactly.
well, at home he's looking okay, and on the road he sucks. So it's hard for me to
see.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
out of curiosity.
Wow, it's an opposite. He's got a 6.89 ERA at home, 2.38 away.
Wow. Okay, all right, that's fascinating. That's good to know. That's interesting. That's fascinating. That's effing interesting, man.
It is.
Sorry, that was a big Lebowski thing. But like, right,
he's walked 8 at home to 9 strikeouts, where he's walked 4 away with 10 strikeouts.
Okay, so I mean, again, either way, the strikeout numbers are not overwhelming by any means, but you don't need him. You don't need him necessarily to be because he's such a late pick. Right. You were hoping more for like wins and hopefully like a decent ERA and
exactly. And I think he's getting a little unlucky. He's not giving up homers. He's got a 0.3, but
I guess it's troubling that his record is not good at home, and maybe that's just a matter of like putting pressure on yourself mentally. Who knows? Who knows? But
just as long as he doesn't go Sonny Gray on us.
All right. Well, let's talk about C-Mart here, because C-Mart's another one of your cards, guys. Because
and
you like your birds.
Again with C-Mart, it's the frustrating. He's not going deep enough in games. He's 0-3 on the season with a 4.7 ERA.
Brutal.
And again, just like the one thing I love, the strikeouts are way up. He's got 39 in 29 innings.
Well, that's nice. You'll love that.
Yeah.
But that tells you he's like not he's like wild. He's not.
He's walking more too. He's walking 4.4 per 9, 3.2 last year, and that's always been his issue. Walks. I said that in the offseason. If he wants to get that next level, he's got to deal with the walks, and so far he hasn't.
Okay, but maybe that's an adjustment thing. If he can adjust throughout the rest of the season, I mean, between you and me, obviously, I don't know why you have them necessarily next to each other. But the rest of the season, I definitely would have more C-Mart than
absolutely.
Cotton, just for anybody out there.
Yeah, the list doesn't necessarily denote how well I think they'll do.
Okay, and I don't know if you're sharing screen where everybody can see this list, but okay, well, but everybody knows what we're talking about. So now we got a couple of third basemen here, and oh man, yeah. I mean, I have a lot of shares of the first. I think maybe a lot of addicts have a lot of shares of the second.
Yeah, I just traded for him a week ago, I think. Healy.
Okay, so we got Bregman and Healy here.
Yeah,
both have been very underwhelming.
Yeah, Bregman's yet to hit a home run. He's got a 340 on base percentage versus a 310 slugging.
Yeah,
I
don't know what's going on. I don't know how to quantify or qualify that other than maybe he needs some time down below.
Remember last year he just started out so bad and then he just fired the last month.
Yeah, heated up. But I still wonder, maybe this is a case where you send a guy down to AAA or AA or whatever it happens to be.
Right.
You send him down. And you let him, beat up on bad pitching or just weaker pitching.
Exactly.
And build the confidence.
Yeah, it's not that he's getting unlucky, because his BABIP is fine. His ISO is definitely low because he doesn't hit home run or anything.
Right.
But it might be a timing issue. He might need to work it out. I mean, they got Gurriel to fill in for him. That might be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, especially, I own him in one dynasty league. He was kind of like the throw-in of a huge trade I made with our buddy Reverend Nate Dogg. That was a huge trade. I got a lot of pieces back, but I did need to replace a third baseman, and all of a sudden, I traded my main third baseman, which was Lamb, to get a good pitcher with Ryan. Mm-hmm. And now Bregman, the guy I was banking on, is like, yep, probably going down to the minors.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, I'd rather see, especially in a dynasty scenario, let him go down, let him learn how to get a little excited about hitting off of pitching again, let him get a little confidence, hey, I feel pretty good about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Bring him back up, let him try it again. They've got pieces, they can spare the parts,
Right.
And this is Houston, so now let's as far as Healy goes, I honestly, rest of season, I'd probably rather have Healy because there's not. I mean, what else is Oakland bringing in to replace Healy?
I mean, they do have Valencia, I think.
Who?
Valencia's in Seattle. Well,
I was gonna say, I mean, who? It doesn't matter who they have. Who?
Yeah.
Who? Who? Oh, I'm talking to an owl
I thought
here?
Healy was coming back the week before last week. He was on fire. He was getting doubles left and right, hitting a couple bombs. And then last week he just kind of fell off again.
Right.
He had his average up to 279 on the 23rd. Now it's back to 245.
I mean, I still think rest of season, or at least the interim, the next few months, Healy is maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Dynasty, JD I'd rather have Bregman, but Healy
JD
probably.
says they have Trevor Plouffe. That's their backup guy.
Which, wow. So up in a plouf of smoke. Woo!
Yeah.
There we go. But either way, I mean, if those are your third base, hopefully those are not the only third baseman you have. Exactly. And unfortunately for Dynasty, for me, Bregman is the only third baseman I have. But at least in that sense, it is Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
In the Roto, the FSAA Roto that we did, where everybody was it was brutal. It was 15 teams and just chaos. Having Bregman as my third baseman, not so good.
No,
not so good. It's
third baseman's tough, especially with Donaldson out.
It's one of those shallow positions. It seems like. I mean, we thought it was maybe we went from being okay, third base is pretty shallow. Well, third base is maybe a little deeper than we thought it was.
Right.
And now we're back to third base is kind of shallow.
Yeah, you got underachievers. I mean, Carpenter he's been decent, but he hasn't been Carpenter. You got other guys that haven't been well. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Chris Bryant's picked it up, but he had a rough start, but he's done a lot better.
Yeah. But it's still one of those things where it's it's still not the deepest position. Right. And that's why, I'm so frustrated. I got, these deeper leagues or these dynasty leagues where I got Matt Davidson, and it's when he plays, he's okay.
Yeah.
But then he sits for 9 more days. And I'm can I just get a little bit of sample size, please, so I can decide if I want to keep or drop or what?
Right.
Sample size, please.
Yeah.
But now, all right, so.
Next guy, outfielder, obviously, JBJ, Jackie Bradley Jr. for the Red Sox. And, he's a tough case, He was never known as an offense guy, but he broke out and hit 26 homers last year.
Last year was a fun year to have Bradley, although the average dropped severely.
Yeah, it did after the All-Star break, definitely.
Yeah, but he was still a fun player to own.
Exactly. But the question is that an outlier? I mean, his career batting average is 236, 407 slugging. Are we going to look back at last year and see an outlier season? 2015 was pretty similar. I mean, he had about the same OPS between 2015 and 2016. But, definitely struggled so far.
All All right, look, I have a hard time not accepting that anybody batting in the Red Sox lineup. Like, I mean, how do you argue against anybody batting in the Red Sox lineup? I mean, unless they literally can't hit their way out of a wet paper bag, they've got to at least do okay for fantasy purposes. I mean, again, maybe deeper fantasy purposes, but like last year was a very nice year, and it's mostly the same lineup. I realize that David Ortiz isn't there, and
yeah, I heard
Mitch
one of
Moreland.
the players got in trouble for saying that the Red Sox definitely miss Ortiz.
Well, and I mean, they would. They should.
Yeah.
I would imagine they do. I mean, it'd be fascinating if he came out of retirement.
He'd like come back and save the Red Sox.
Well, I mean,
they need saving. I mean, they're doing pretty well so far. But
well, I was gonna say, it reminds me of the when Roger Clemens was like doing half seasons with the Astros.
And thinking of a football example, Brett Favre.
Right. Yeah. Like you play a half a season and you chime in when you're ready and you hit the playoffs and you're good to go. And it, maybe, but like I still think that can't be that lineup is still so stacked that you can't let David Ortiz not being there be the excuse for any one player not hitting.
I only have one share of JBJ, and that's in a 20 team. You keep all your player dynasty, so obviously can't drop him there. But
I'd be happy if I saw like a similar. Yeah, I was gonna say I'd be happy if I saw like a similar batting average to last year. I won't maybe expect as much power, but
maybe a couple more steals. I hit 9 last year.
Yeah, like you're not hitting home runs, run some bases.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, we got 3 straight pitchers.
Yeah, this is like pitching central here, and these were guys that like, all right, one I hate, one I didn't draft, and one you guys loved.
Right. Now the first guy, obviously, Kenta Maeda, he did have a great start last time out, so that was an encouragement. But his ERA is still over 6 at this point. Yeah. I mean, and he's got a 9.3 strikeouts per 9. He's still getting strikeouts, 27 and 26 innings. But in his FIP is 514 though, so it's supporting how bad he is.
Well, I mean, again, I still just wonder, when is that elbow going to explode? And I don't want to root against the guy. I just can't draft the dude.
Well, I mean, I'd say, let's compare to. Do you think Tanaka gets injured first or Maeda? Just those two guys.
Like all these guys, both these guys. I don't trust the elbows. I don't trust the shoulders. I think the workload is far too high on both Tanaka and Maeda, and just like I'm not buying. And this is why I'm curious about like how the Ohtani thing is going to go next year, because it seems like, I mean, wouldn't it be convenient for a lot of these teams to be like, yes, now we put them up for bidding, or it's not even bidding anymore, but like,
thinking of him, I think it would make sense if he went to an NL team, obviously.
Well, so you could use him as a hitter. Yeah. I mean, and that's the ultimate question. I mean, do you pitch the guy or do you have him hit? And I mean, you could do an entire podcast on that guy, to be perfectly honest. I mean, let's do that sometime. We'll do that. Yeah. We'll do that.
And think about what if you make him a relief pitcher, but have him start in the field, and if you need him pitch, you just do a double switch and put him in there.
Bump him in for the 8th inning or something. I mean, there's so many things you could do. I mean, but like, wouldn't it be great as a fantasy owner? Like, does this change fantasy sports where like you could get hitting stats from your pitching from National League pitchers? Might be fascinating. You got to draft more National League, so then the values change. I mean, like, there's a lot of ramifications and implications and hints and allegations. But all right, moving on though. I mean, again, I just Japanese arms right now. I'm not, other than you, Darvish, and then, I'm not comfortable right now. Everything's scaring me, except and even Darvish. I'm like, I hope this doesn't go bad.
No. Moving on to the next guy. Now, this was my guy in the offseason.
Gesellman,
I don't know how you feel about him. Gesselman.
Yeah.
However you say his name.
Gesellman.
Yeah, he's just been atrocious. Atrocious. I mean, I keep rolling him out there because he keeps getting easy teams and he keeps getting blown up. Like he got blown up against Atlanta today. I mean,
all right, run through the stat line on Atlanta today.
Let's see here. I know he gave up like 5 runs in the first few innings. Let's see what they did. Yeah, I mean, he got the win. He's 1-2. The Braves scored, looks like 5 runs off him. All the 5 runs.
All right, so it was an ugly win that he got, though.
Yeah, ugly win.
Did you get any Ks out of that?
Bring it up. Yeah, that's Braves pitcher, wrong guy. I was about to say he got 6 Ks, but that's Teheran.
Oh, yeah.
Wassa didn't do well today.
Yeah.
As evidenced by losing it was a pretty bad score. So let's bring up Mets here. Okay, he went 5 innings, 5 earned, no Ks.
Oh, not a single K. Well, at least you got to win.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's got a 9.1 K per 9 innings, even without. Well, that's before this game.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm
here.
Guessing that's going down. That's got to be.
And before this game, he had a 1.7 WHIP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is
but
pretty
his
high.
FIP is 3.71. Like, I don't know if he's this bad. You know, I don't know. I can't seem to drop the guy.
Well, all right. He's a great dynasty player. He makes for a great dynasty case. But what I think at this point you would really prefer to see is that the Mets send him down to
can they afford to
hone the craft.
With Thor? You know, they just lost Thor.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they can afford to do. They shouldn't have let go of Bartolo Colon. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like that Mets pitching staff, as good as it could have been, for as bad as it has been, it's almost tragic and shameful.
Exactly.
I mean, like you think about like what that pitching staff, like in chalk on paper, should be, and what it truly is. Wow, major difference. And so,
Cubby just said he's got a 57.1 ground ball rate, and that's good. That's good. You know, it's just I can't put my finger on what's wrong with him so far.
Young pitching. He's young. He's the 5th starter. I mean,
But I mean, that didn't stop him last year. He had a 2.42 ERA last year, started 7 games.
Right, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, that was like rookie, I'm excited. This is like sophomore jinx.
Yeah, I was excited because he had a good slider. He developed a really great slider. I was really into him. I got him really late in drafts, and so far all he's done is lose me ERA every week.
Bad news. Bad news.
Yeah, I think after today, I'm gonna have. I might drop him in some shallow leagues. But bench him.
I was saying shallow leagues bench and just use that as like a spot start.
Bench. Yeah.
Yeah, but just bench other leagues, deeper leagues. I mean, let him hopefully figure it out. See what happens with the Mets rotation, especially with Thor out. And,
exactly.
I mean, the Mets pitching's a sticky scenario. Now you got Manea,
who's obviously on the DL right now.
Right.
But left shoulder strain, but he's expected to be activated before May 7th against the Tigers, apparently. That was updated today. So, you know, it's not anything serious. He should be back pretty soon.
Do we have a rehab start in between somewhere?
It doesn't list that. It just says he should be activated May 7th.
Okay, well, I'm hoping there's a rehab start because anytime I hear about shoulder, I get more nervous than I even am. Like, I'm more, especially Dynasty, I'm more likely to weather an elbow injury as much as they're like the death bell.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd rather deal with an elbow injury than a shoulder injury for pitchers every day.
Manaya actually is just another example of a high ERA, lower FIP guy because he's got over a 5 ERA. He's got a 3.3 FIP, you know, and his WHIP is right around last season. It's got a great WHIP, 1.192. He's only giving up 6.3 hits per 9, and he's only giving up 0.4 home runs per 9. So where are all these runs coming from?
bad defense. I don't know.
Well, that wouldn't give him earned run. Well, it wouldn't give him earned runs. His walk rate's a little high at 4.4.
Well, but think about. I mean, yeah, all right. So I could see though. I mean, like think about like if the defense was actually like stellar though, like wow, diving catch, woo,
right.
Look at that. I mean, if there's like slightly above average defense, you have to think some of those that are like earned runs, hits,
right.
that are given up.
He's got a 63.9% ground ball rate. I gotta think it's a lot of what has to do with Minaya is luck. Because he's not giving up homers, he's not giving up hits. He's striking out 10 per 9. All the numbers saying, hey, this guy is good, except for the ERA.
I mean, again, having not seen, like, I don't even think I've watched one A's game this year. And forgive me for saying that if you are an A's fan. And if I've offended anybody for that and I haven't watched an A's game, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Cubby just said maybe.
Without having seen that. I was just, yeah, like, I mean, he gives up solo shots. He's given
up one home run on the season.
One home run on the season. Okay, so that's not the answer.
Nope.
Honestly, you know what that sounds like to me? Just like you're saying, a little bit of bad luck, but probably the defense behind him. Like guys not being not that they're doing poorly, but they're not like stellar defensive players. I
mean, obviously Simeon's on the DL now, but obviously Simeon's now is probably one of the worst shortstops defensive wise. I don't know how Healy is. I don't know how Alonso is. Who's their second baseman?
Oakland.
Yeah, obviously no one relevant if I can't remember.
Well, I was gonna say it's dude that came out of Toronto.
Lowry.
Lowry, yeah.
Okay.
Came from Toronto. I don't even know. Just basically nobody. Crap, garbage.
Mm-hmm. And Chris Davis is no speedster in the outfield. Yeah, so I mean they don't have a great defense. You're right. That probably could be part of the reason he struggled.
Right.
If the people don't make the plays behind him, it affects the pitcher definitely.
Without seeing the stats, I don't know, but that would be my just initial suspicion. But
yeah,
when you talk about the bad luck, I also think there's probably like just not like above average fielding, which isn't necessarily bad luck. It's just what do you consider good fielding?
Yeah, exactly.
We got a couple of quarter infielders here. We got Nicky C, but he's also now Nicholas.
Yeah.
Castellanos.
I can't call him that. I still call him Nick Castellanos. I can't call him Nicholas.
Yeah. I just like Nicky C. That's why I go with Nicky C, man. Because Nicky C sounds like he's like a gangster, but he hasn't been hitting like one.
Exactly, and he started off the year slow, but his hard hit rate was great. Like I'm checking to see what is that now, but he started off. He actually I think he had the hardest hit percentage at one point in April, but it's just he struggled so far since then. In the first half, he's got a 328 BABIP, so that's not an issue. His ISO's good at 214. He's just not producing, and
well, that could just be the Tigers. I mean, it's still really cold in Detroit. You know what I'm saying?
And he's hit 3 triples actually, 6 doubles, 3 homers.
So there's
half of his hits are extra base hits.
One of these days, he's gonna have just like a massive year. Like last year was a pretty good year.
Right.
I still feel like for, Nicholas Castellanos or Castellanos or however you pronounce his name, we're not good with pronunciations around here. One of these, one of these years, though.
Yeah. I mean, he's only 25,
It's going to click. Yeah, it's got to. I mean, this guy's shown a lot. So, I mean, I hope it's still this year because
exactly.
I have like maybe 1 or 2 like side shares, nothing major. Like, I mean, again, I gave up on him in Dynasty.
Right,
like,
and I picked him up there. He's on my teams in the Dynasties.
Okay, so I mean, but again, like nice piece to have for Dynasty. You're hoping that eventually it all comes together. And there's there's a lot to be excited about.
There is.
When and if it all does come together.
Mm-hmm.
Now another one of your favorite guys is Josh Bell, another
Josh Bell
infielder.
Yeah, he earned a bench spot. I know a lot of people dropped him. I'd never dropped him, but he definitely benched. But even though he's on the disappointment list, he has picked it up.
He has, yes, he has.
Before today, he had a 5-game hitting streak going. In that time, he had 2 home runs in that span, you know. And again, why I liked him last year, he's still doing that. He's got 11 walks to 16 strikeouts. So he's walking. He's got a 353 on base percentage. You know, and with Marte out, you know, he's going to get more time in the outfield probably. And then there's a long-haired dude that's not hitting.
That guy.
Yeah.
Which guy? We don't know. That guy though, he sucks.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't even need to know. The guy that we don't know about. Who cares?
Yeah, so I'm still holding him, especially in Dynasty. You know, I still like his tools. It's only been a month. You know.
I was gonna say I think the only Josh Bell I have is like redraft leagues, and I never had any concern about dropping.
And when you look at it, last year, you know, he had the 270. He hit 3 home runs in 45 games. He's already hit 4 in 24 this year. You know.
Exactly. Like the power's on par.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's weird is I think I did way more roto redraft leagues than I did head-to-head this year. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, you know, I think about this. I'm like, man, I don't have that many head-to-head leagues.
Yeah.
But like, I love roto. I love that roto. And so Bell, he hits home runs and like, you know, I'll figure it out.
John J. So's long-haired dude.
Okay, yeah, J-So. Yeah. Right? But no, Josh Bell and Nicky C, these are guys I definitely like. If you could buy low on those two, I would absolutely do it.
Definitely. And especially, I think you could get Josh Bell super cheap.
Oh,
just because he's been dropped so much. I'm actually going to look up his ownership on Yahoo right now.
Okay.
Because I know
you'd be shocked some of these players. Like when you see some of these players get dropped, you're like totally shocked.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, he's at 33% right now on Yahoo.
Okay, and I mean, you'd be surprised though. Like, go take a look in your leagues. Take a look and see.
Exactly.
Maybe you missed it. Mm-hmm. Somebody dropped him. Go pick him back up. Be like, you know what? I got a little space. I got a DL slot open. I put so and so on the DL. Like, I got open space, my roster. Go take a look and see what's out there. Because some of these players, as much as we're talking about, they've been disappointments. Not all of them are full busts.
Yes.
By any means, right?
No. They have a lot. It's the first month, you know, they have a lot of time to come back.
So there we go.
Rendon would have been on this list if it wasn't for yesterday. What if one of these guys have a big game, you know, and just that fast?
Yeah, you'd think Anthony Rendon would be like, well, what a disappointment. Well, you go 6 for 6, and all of a sudden your batting average is up like 70 points, and right, 10 RBI all of a sudden makes it look like you had a relatively productive season. But that was one game.
Exactly. And last 2 guys on the list are both Braves.
I was gonna say you got a little Braves action here if LT's still hanging around.
Now, Andrew Nasrerte has been a really interesting case. You know, he's always he'll steal a little base, he'll give you a good average kind of guy.
Right.
He had 3 home runs last year. He already has 4. He stole 16 bases last year. He already has 7. But he's batting .230 and he's not walking.
I mean, I'm not surprised that the batting average isn't like really beautiful just yet. But I mean, the stolen bases are what you'd expect. The power's been
and the stolen bases are really encouraging.
Yeah,
if he continues at that pace, that's a career high for him.
Absolutely. But you're still like, can I just get a little bit more on base percentage and batting average?
Oh, okay. So Cubby said he hit his 5th home run today.
Yeah. All right. So I mean, you're getting bombs. You're getting stolen bases. Yeah. Not the ideal batting average, not the ideal on base.
Here is one really encouraging note for Inciarte. His BABIP is 244 compared to 329 last year.
Okay.
So you got to think he's not going to have BABIP at 244 going forward. He's always been a mid 300s guy when it comes to BABIP.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, again, just for everybody who's listening, batting average, balls in play.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, he's not going to go hit 5 home runs every month. He's not a home run hitter. He will. I would safely predict he'd get his career high, since his career high is 6. But
I honestly think, and I've said this before, I think they have built a lot of this Braves team around players that should play. I think this was like an analytics situation. This was an analytics rebuild where they took analytics and decided, okay, we've got a new ballpark being built in 2 years. What kind of players do we want in this specific ballpark?
And on paper, it's really good. I mean, obviously, you've had Freeman, who had a great April. Matt Kemp's had a great April, and then you got guys that are supposed to get on base in front of them, and Swanson and Ciarte. Markakis gets on base. Phillips is having a good season. On paper, it looks like it should work, and it still might.
Well, this is year one, new park, right?
Yeah.
Like year one in a new park. And you think at some point, like, maybe not all these guys are there long term, but the core that they've built is very, very enticing. Now, obviously, Swanson is the next guy.
And they have a lot of great arms in the minors.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, pitching. I mean, come on. Like, this is the Braves organization we're talking about.
Yeah, Swanson's probably been one of the most disappointing players of the season. I mean, when you bat 156,
Well, but... I mean, who really, like, I mean, granted, I do own Swanson in, like, a few of our leagues where I'm like...
I mean, he was a mid-150 pick. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't pay too much. I mean, if I find a shortstop along the way that's better, and Swanson doesn't pick it up, no big deal.
He has a 433 OPS on the season so far, and that's pretty brutal, but... Again, it's another guy that he's got a 184 BABIP, 188 BABIP. Now, last year was way too high at 383. He's not going to be last year, but again, he's another guy that I think will improve as the season goes on. Maybe he's just hitting a little sophomore slump kind of thing, even though
it's adjustments. I mean, like the league saw a little bit of him last year.
Although technically, I think this is still his rookie season because he didn't reach 150 plate appearances.
Yeah, but I still feel like it's not like necessarily the proverbial sophomore slump, but like he now needs to adjust to how the pitching and the footage and the analytics have adjusted and shown the pitchers how to pitch to him. And this is a guy who has always career-wise hit for average and been a very productive hitter. And so, like, of all the players on this, like, I'm not doing very well list, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, my year's not going so good. To me, the 3 that I have, well, you know what, I'll even say 4. Well, I mean, there's others. But to me, I think Swanson, like, I could see him finishing very hot. I could see, like, Castellanos, however you, again, I'm not going to pronunciation. Nicky C and Josh Bell, like, these are guys I really like for nice seasons. And Swanson, I still believe in. If Swanson has a monster season, like one great year for the Braves, that already like takes that D-backs Shelby Miller trade.
Right.
Like think about this. Vinciarte and Swanson are like really good.
Yeah.
And Shelby Miller is like just done forever. Wow, what a bad trade that was.
And even though these guys are listed as disappointments, almost not all of them, but almost all of them, I would buy low on. Like at least half the list, I would buy low on.
Like in terms of a trade, or just like go pick up if somebody drops.
Well, yeah, for the lower players like Bell and guys like that, you probably can get them on the wire, and if you're in a semi-inactive league. But guys, like Gregory Lee Polanco, I'd still trade for him. Martinez, Morales.
Now, would you make? I wish I could pull up the list side by side here of disappointments and positives.
Mm-hmm.
But like, would you almost go like cross like what do you trade for so and so? Like, if you believe in, like, would you trade Brantley for Peraza? Would you trade?
No.
Okay, all right. I'm just curious, like, because
Yeah.
again, I'd like to know what would be, when you're talking about
Okay.
some of these disappointments you go to trade for. Obviously, it'll vary from dynasty or redraft.
Mm-hmm.
But like, okay, I want to buy low on Kendrys Morales. Like Kendrys
Yeah.
like not really doing
I
anything
think
good.
I would offer Ryan Zimmerman, like Ryan Zimmerman from Morales. I think Morales would be better rest of the season.
Okay.
And
All right.
again,
That's I mean
maybe
that doesn't sound
maybe
terrible.
it's my leftover not hatred, but general dislike for Zimmerman. But it's just I he's had a good month. You can't deny that. But yeah,
That's 1 month. That's 1 month. That's like, just
yeah.
1 month, dude.
I mean,
Well,
do we
let's
think
let's
Andrew
talk.
Triggs is going to be Cy Young by the end of the year? Even though he's on the
No.
positive list, no, he's going to regress. And
Yeah. Well, a lot of these positives definitely have. I mean, of all the
yeah,
positives I see on your currently listed list, Brantley, Tomas, Tyon, maybe
mm-hmm.
Drury, maybe Benintendi, Kennedy, Conforto, maybe Peralta, and that's about it. That I see those are the guys that I see being,
As good as they are now, kind of
maintaining.
thing.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you're like, wow, okay, but like when I think
yeah.
about disappointments, like a lot of
Almost
these
all these
disappointments
guys.
have to be better. They're gonna be better.
Yeah,
There's no way they're
yeah.
not better. I mean, like unless we're looking at like arm injuries for some of these pitchers,
Mm-hmm.
like I mean, hopefully again Maeda is healthy and
Yeah,
maybe
looking at the list, if I can trade Mike Leake for Sean Manaea or Kenta Maeda, I would do that in a second.
okay. Let me ask you about your your two like not busted, but you know what I'm saying, disappointment third baseman here, Bregman Healy. Like, what do you offer? Like, say redraft or dynasty. Like, you're like, well, okay,
Well,
Bregman's really underperforming.
yeah.
What do
Healy,
I
I think
offer?
you can get cheap no matter what, no matter if it's a dynasty or that, because he Bregman has more name value, obviously. Ryan
Right.
Healy, let me think. Trying to think of a comparable third baseman kind of thing. I wouldn't trade Nunez. I'd rather have Eduardo Nunez.
Longo.
I
Now the
mean,
Longo's injured.
for Bregman, I think maybe for Bregman, especially in a
Yeah.
dynasty.
Well, yeah,
I'm
but if you
not
get
sure
you
if
do
I
that
do
all
that for
day.
Healy.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say.
Yeah, but I think Longoria was a fluke last year. Like, if I had Longoria, I would have tried to move him before the season even started, kind of thing.
Now, okay, so we've kind of gone through our list of like pros, cons, ups, downs. We got strikes and gutters here.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody else that like kind of hits your mind? I mean, let's talk about the like really stupid injuries.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, and I think the most stupid injuries we've heard about. Like, we want to talk about the positive side. Like, all right, we got Ian Desmond coming back.
Yeah.
He's back. JD
Mhm.
Martinez, just dongs. He'll be back in a bit.
Miggy's back.
Okay, Miguel Cabrera's back. Like, there's a lot of players coming back, but we had like two really, really just asinine injuries with Madison Bumgarner and Noah Syndergaard. Like, one was like a player's sort of disregard for his career.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was also. Well, I mean, I think Syndergaard had some disregard for his own career as well.
And him.
The team, yeah. So, like, I mean, again, he's the best thing they have, and they decide, like, oh no, you don't need an MRA.
Yeah, and this is why I'd just fire the training staff.
Their training staff,
like
pitching.
Yeah, there's a lot of people getting injured, but no team is seeing the starting pitcher injuries that the Mets are seeing.
Yeah, I mean, there's something going on with the pitching coaches or
Now
somebody.
this is just a theory, and I have no substance behind it. But in the Mets organization, almost every pitcher gets taught a slider, and that's why people like Gesselman and all that. They try to make sure everyone has a slider, and I wonder if, because then like Gesselman, they'll throw it a lot. Maybe working with them. Because they're not just relying on their fastball, throwing a lot of those sliders. Yeah, again, just a theory. I don't know if that's
just pushing them for a breaking pitch they don't naturally throw.
Yeah,
that they don't necessarily need to throw, but because they feel like that's the pitch that should be thrown, and that's what the pitching coaches and whoever. I mean, but either way, I mean, you got to think about the videos we've seen in the last week about Mets fans going berserk, and that kid that. I mean, if you're a Mets fan, I'm sure you're steamed. I
mean, your playoff hopes are kind of vanishing in thin air right now.
Yeah, it's not so hot.
You got the Washington Nationals. If you don't keep up with them, you're left behind.
Right, you absolutely have to keep up with them.
Mm-hmm.
And now, the situation with Madison Bumgarner is also. I mean, it's not similar necessarily, but it's more like the player. It's not necessarily the team. I guess the team maybe should have been more aware of what he was doing.
But that's just kind of Bumgarner's reputation. He's a rough, tough guy,
Well, this is actually. I was gonna say, he's chopping wood, and he's just he's a woodsman, and he's a lumberjack, and he's still only 26, 27 years old.
Exactly.
I get all that. He's never been on the DL, but when you're actually jeopardizing your career, I don't really want to see my starting pitcher chopping wood, especially if it's not something he actually does regularly. If he doesn't know how to chop wood properly and he hacks off a finger, that's not good. That's not good. I mean, if he chops wood and he knows how proper wood chopping technique, fine. And you want to sell your Carhartt jeans and whatever, that's fine. But when you talk about I was on a dirt bike in the middle of the season for no real particular reason, these are absolutely asinine injuries. These are injuries and disabled incidents that did not need to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you think that's like Mike Trout going to get hurt, or Bryce Harper. Baumgartner is the biggest name on that team. He is the San Francisco Giants along with Posey.
Absolutely. And it's not a long list after that, by the way.
Right, and they've always relied on their pitching. They've had decent hitting, but they've never had great hitting. All those World Series, pitching.
Yep. Pitching.
And Bumgarner was the main part of that. He'd be the guy that starts, and the next day come out of the bullpen and win it. And without him, and not just that, he pinch hits and hits home runs for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but they're looking at 2+ months. I mean, but I think the dialogue has been so negative thus far, and I don't mean to interject too far into your podcast here or deviate, but I think the narrative thus far for fantasy baseball has been so heavily shifted towards do we have enough disabled list spots?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do we do we have enough DL spots with the 10-day DL? We talked about that in our podcast, the FSAA podcast last week. I mean, you think about all this stuff, to me, let's not overreact.
Exactly.
Cubby,
don't make anything rash.
Well, I was going to say, Cubby posted a very interesting, I think it was Cubby. He, our buddy Cubby Knoll, James, posted a little blurb about how, injuries are only up about 12%.
Yeah.
On the average of April. Now, that 12% might as well just be Bumgarner and Syndergaard with pretty much carelessness. That's probably it. That's probably about it. Now we overreact to it and we think, wow, this 10-day DL. And, I think our team's going to be more likely to throw a player on the DL. Absolutely. But do we need to add more DL spots?
Yeah.
No, well, I think we're fine. Like, especially, like, I feel like we have
Yeah.
a very luxurious and generous amount of DL spots in
Exactly.
our leagues. 3 is plenty. 2 is even fine.
Yeah, for me, I don't want to be rash about it. The thing I would do is if it actually turns out to be a big problem throughout the season, I would just throw in another one bench slot or something like that. And you can't do that this season. You don't want to make those
Right.
changes. But if it is a problem,
Right,
you got
like
to
going
fix it next
forward.
season.
Yeah, like if and well, like again, I want to see the data. Again, I've been a commissioner for fantasy baseball for I don't know. I can't even remember how many years. Same for Ryan. Like if we haven't seen data, we rely on data and stats and figures and any of that stuff. Like if we haven't seen the information, like I feel like it's too soon to be like, whoop, let's pull the alarm and go berserk because, you know, and a lot of people are like, we need more DL slots. And I'm like, well, let's just see, because 1 April, where a lot of players happen to be hurt, you know, there's a lot of outside stuff that could have affected that, you know, World Baseball, you know, like there's a lot of things that could have contributed. So I just feel like, you know, just because like this 1 month was particularly aggressive.
Right.
Let's see how the season plays.
Because I don't know this. What month usually sees the most injuries? You know, I would think it would be June or July, just as a guess. But you know,
well, because of the All-Star break, right? Like something
All-Star break and
coming out of.
You know,
yeah. I just picture coming in or out of the All-Star break previously, where it was like, okay. You know, like you got him on the 14th
put him on the DL
day.
because you got a bunch of days, you know, to get him healthy.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, I guess.
But the 10-day thing, it definitely changes the dynamic. I'm not going to argue that. But I just, you know, like I think it makes teams more likely to put a player on the DL. But I don't know that that means that, like, players are more likely to get injured.
It doesn't affect enough to change anything.
Right, like I think we've just seen more players injured than normally that we have, and so we're like, wow.
And then some teams just have, you know, are unlucky enough to have a bunch of guys that went on the DL.
Right. So, and
like, you know, one place I have 6, one place I have none, one place I have 1. You know, it's just differs by team.
My tap the Rocky strategy wasn't pretty, but it's getting better.
Yeah.
Again, I got Desmond back, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Dale doesn't have a timetable, but he's swinging again. So.
Yeah. The Dale Dahl, we don't know. We're addicts, not experts. All right, so just I don't know. I figure we should probably wind her down here. I don't know where else you want to head with this.
I think we pretty much covered it. You know, April has its ups and its downs. You know, it's still a long season, a marathon, not a race.
Right. That's the beautiful thing, and this is also why I love Roto a little bit more than head to head. Like head to head, you're so subject to those, like, you know, strikes and gutters, you know, booms and busts. We're like one bad week and all of a sudden your entire great season's just right out the window. And in some regards that, like, I can live with that. But Roto, I feel like I have a little bit more control over my destiny.
Roto's fairer, head-to-head reflects more the unfairness of actual baseball.
Yes. So it's kind of like, what's your favorite? And but you know what? I mean, honestly, I love it all. I'm not going to stop playing either, right?
Exactly. Like, and especially in Roto, even if you're in a bad spot, unless you have a ton of injuries like I do in the FSA Roto, but like in JD's Roto, I was in like 12th for the longest time, and right now I'm in 5th place. So, you know, if you're in last, there's still a lot of time to move up. Like,
I'm going to say you're creeping up. We're still early. This is why, by the way, you can't count your chickens before they're hatched. Not speaking out to anybody specifically in the world, but, you know, it's only been a month, man.
Right. Terra Knights, we'll just cover this one question. Terra Knights, he wants a prediction for Mark Reynolds' home runs.
Ooh. All right, so...
is he going to lose? Is he going to lose playing time with Desmond?
No, Desmond's playing outfield right now. Desmond's playing left. And so, like, I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
if Desmond sticks in the outfield, and like, I mean, it depends what happens with Dahl or Dill.
right.
Again, I'm not good with the pronunciation. I mean, Reynolds could very easily stick at first. He's kind of a perfect Coors Field player.
He is. He is. I mean, he's
Like,
got 8 home runs this season so far.
he's not. I mean, he's like a lower average Larry Walker, and
I
also
mean,
smaller. But I always
is
loved Reynolds. You know what's funny? Reynolds was supposed to be a second baseman. He came through the
really.
system. Yeah, he came through the D-back system as a second baseman. And I always wanted him to play at second base. But we had like Matt Cada.
Yeah, we got a couple predictions in the chat. Cubby says 22, Blue Ball says less than 20, and JD says 24.
I think somewhere around 20, like 20 plus.
Yeah.
Like 20
Again,
plus,
it
but not
really
like,
depends on his playing time in the future, obviously.
well, I mean, and that comes down to the Dahl Dale thing.
Mhm.
Again, bad pronunciation. Is it Dale or Dahl? I thought it was.
I think it's Dahl. I think it's Dahl.
Okay, Dahl, Jack Dahl.
Yeah.
All right, so it's Dahl. All right, so there we go. But he is the low man on the totem pole. I mean, Reynolds is hitting. Like, Reynolds has never hit for a great average. He's hit for an okay average occasionally. But in the right scenario, with a lot, like, I mean, he can just mash.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I mean, when the ball's flying, how do you argue? How do you take a guy out of the lineup?
Exactly.
So I say it's 20 plus.
Yeah, I think that's safe.
I think it's over 20. I'm not willing to go 25 plus though. Just because because of the unknown. But I think what are we wait, he's at 8 now?
Yes.
25 plus. I'll go 25 plus. I'm gonna live dangerously. I'm going 25 plus. I'm going out on a limb, 25 plus for Reynolds this year.
All right, so I'm moving on from that. I want to thank everyone that's hung out in the chat. You know, we got Cubby at Cubby Noel. We got JD at Joe Deef. Blue Ball's been hanging out. So has Terror Knights and Jose Plaza, who I think is
Jets Infinity.
Yeah, Jets Infinity. Yeah, thanks
yeah.
guys for hanging out.
It was good time, Andrew.
Yeah,
like, I'm excited about more podcasts. Let's play some baseball. We got to do one more league. We got to do one more. Set it and forget it. You want to do one?
Oh,
one
yeah.
more?
Yeah.
One more? Yeah, we got to do a set it and forget it. Yeah, we do.
And of course, thank you, Tom, for joining again. He's from FantasySportsAddicts.com. Fantasy Sports Addicts Anonymous. Check out their site. Like, we're on there all the time. You know, talking baseball. You know, it's, you know, you'll have 9 guys all, you know, watching games and like, hey, did you see what this guy did? Hey, it's a good time. So definitely check them out.
Well, thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's articles on it too. People are writing articles. There's stuff to read. It's not just a chat website anymore. You know, and they revamped it. It's a great place. I hang out there all the time. So definitely check them out.
It's a great time. Thank you for having me, Andrew. I really appreciate it. Like, I'm proud to be a part of your first podcast. That was
no
exciting.
problem. Love to have you.
So yeah, you know, like let's do more in the future, and let's talk more baseball, and you know, everybody, let's hang out. Let's go to the website and hang out after this. Just remind us though, by the way, what should people do if they want to get in touch with you?
If they want to get in touch with me, the most direct way that I'll get alerts on my phone is on my Twitter, which is @FantasyA1, @FantasyA1 for my Twitter. I have an email too, fantasy1@gmail.com. I get emails there that I answer. You know, if you have trade questions, injury questions, should I start this guy? You know, I'm happy to answer them. Either one works. I check my email a little bit less frequently than my Twitter, but you know, whatever you're comfortable with, you can send me those questions, and I'll be as prompt as I can and get to them.
Well, that's very good. Thank you, Andrew, for being so prompt. We do love that. We always love that about you on our site. So, again, everybody, Fantasy Aid, hit the subscribe button down below. Thumbs up, please. Leave a review, drop a comment, ask some questions. Andrew's always around. He'd love that. So it's Tom, and I'm Andrew from Fantasy Aid. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. And if you're listening to this after the fact, thanks for listening. Leave a comment. You know, tell me how the first podcast was.
For Fantasy Aid, I'm Andrew, and this is Tom. So thanks for watching.
Thanks.